If you've been liking any of the content on here, just feel free to subscribe. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching.
Alrighty, so this video is just kind of going over my list for an upcoming RTT. It's going to be March 16th, 2024. It's going to be in the same location as last time, in New Brunswick, Sackville, New Brunswick. I'm in Nova Scotia, so it's a little bit of a travel, but not too long, about an hour. And it's in the same location, a store called Vortex. I do believe it's 9 till 6 or something like that. I'm quite excited for that. I figured I'd make a video just explaining the list I have and just my thought process of what I'm bringing. Look forward to seeing the people that I met up there, talking to the owner once again. He was a great fella. I do believe his name was Chris. 4 of us from my Truro area are going up to the tournament as well. We have Necron Mike, Blushing Norse Marine, and the Mittens. And then hopefully we can go up and maybe one else will get first, second, who knows. Like always, I'll go through each one of the units and why I brought them and just my thought process of why I brought them and what their job is going to be in my army and my list. Alright, so these are my 2 Warden units. They are going to be my anchor units and my primary point generators. They're going to be just for standing on the objectives and gaining me points throughout the game. I did originally have Valerian in one of these Warden units, but I find Valerian really helps for melee armies, but he's not as general purpose and as much utility as a shield captain is. A shield captain is a little more points, but it allows you to use -1 damage every battle round for free, and that really can help keep these guys alive. You also have the once per game for feel no pain, and then they have the -1 to wound if you shoot at them or you hit them with something that's stronger than their toughness. Melee, you can also use 2 katas with the shield captain, and then with the 2 katas, you can have -1 hit and then sustain. So you can mitigate a lot of the damage and then still have a pretty good attack back. Or maybe if you charge something, you can use lethal hits and sustained, and then once per game, he can also use all 3 katas. So he has a lot of versatility, and with the -1 damage, the -1 to hit in melee if you want to use that, for feel no pain once per game, the -1 to wound if you're stronger than their toughness, it really can make this unit stay on objective, and I don't need as much of support as Valerian does. This unit, you can really stick them on objective closest to your deployment and really not worry about them. They should be able to kind of take a lot of the opponent's damage, and they'll be a little harder to get to since they're further away from the deployment, from the enemy's deployment. So it should really help these guys gain me a lot of points throughout the games. And then I have Trajan, and good old Trajan, since now he ignores modifiers. He's great for killing Catan. He's great for Space Marines if they want to use Armor of Contempt. He just ignores any of that stuff. So I like to put him in the middle objective because he's a lot more of a threat. You don't have to worry about not having enough CP to fight first, or you can possibly even fight first with the CP and then use his Moment Shackle to get 12 attacks. There's a lot of versatility, but he's a big threatening unit that people, if they want to take the medal, they're going to have to deal with them. Yes, you could put the shield captain up there, and because he can take a little more damage, but he doesn't have the threat that Trajan does. And I prefer Trajan in a group of Wardens than with the guard, because with the guard, yes, you can reroll wounds if you're on objective you control, but with Trajan really multiplies the damage and the threat of these Wardens, and just the Wardens help him stay alive for most of the game. So these are my anchor units. They're going to be for generating primary, so I'm going to go on to my attacking units. Call them my attack units because these are what I'm going to be using to try to do damage to the opponent's army. They're the ones that are not going to be integral to me getting points or even getting secondaries. These are going to be using for putting pressure on the opponent to keep them away from my Wardens on the primaries. These are going to be used for just putting pressure. So I have 4 Custodian Guard. They don't have a character, but they can still kind of get on objective, hopefully reroll wounds. You can still take out some vehicles with these guys. They're still very potent for only being 4 of them. I have the unit of 5 Custodian Guard with the Vexilla and the Blade Champion. Yes, I could change the Vexilla for some more spears to get more wounds through, but I find if I want to make sure I get on objectives, the whole thing, these guys need to control the objective to reroll their wounds, and then that can really spike the Blade Champion's damage, because if you're rerolling his wounds, you're fishing for 6s, you can really get some good damage. So I want to make sure that I get the objectives for sure, because no, they're not going to be for getting points, but they're going to be really good for denying. So maybe I can shoot these into the opponent's objective closest to the deployment. I can control that. I can reroll my wounds with this entire unit, and I can really pump out some damage. And then you have the 3 Terminators. They're going to be for rapid ingressing, not as much for gaining points and behind enemy lines, because 3 Terminators are still very threatening. You could rapid ingress 3 Terminators behind a wall or something, or behind some cover, and next turn push them up in charge, because 3 Terminators can still do a lot of damage, and they're still OC2 each, so even if you attack a unit that's maybe a 5-man unit with only 1 OC, you're still going to control even if you don't kill them all. They're very potent. I find 2 isn't nearly as potent as 3. 2 can be killed. You know, you lose 2 easier. You don't have as much access to the res, because yes, every unit can use it, but these guys, when they're in a unit of 2, are a lot easier to kill, and it's not as much worth the CP to bring back a Terminator in a 2-man unit. But if you bring one back in a 3-man unit to have the 3 again, once again you have a real punchy unit, because you can reroll your wounds against characters and vehicles. You can use these guys as assassins, really, rapid ingress assassins. That are my attack units. They're going to be used for just being nuisances and killing the big baddies on the opponent's team, so my Wardens can keep on gaining all the primaries, and then my units that are coming up next, my utility and secondary units, they can get me the secondary points to hopefully get me enough points to get some wins here. These are my utility and points gaining units. So I did drop I think a total of 4 Terminators from my old list and Kyriadraxis and kind of move things around. I don't do quite as much damage because I don't have the Terminators with the reroll wounds, but I get a lot more points with this army. There's a lot more tools and speed, so I might even actually get more damage overall over the entire army because I have a lot more tools. I'm not just relying on deep striking and rapid ingressing in with my Terminators and hopefully killing most of the army before they get to my objectives. Now I can use the Wardens, my attack units, to kind of help keep my primary points going every turn, but these units are for getting my secondary. So I do have the Prosecutors. They are for my home field objective. They're going to stand on my home field objective and just hopefully hold that all game. I have the Custodes Assassin, and she is just for bopping around, grabbing secondaries, doing behind enemy lines, even holding on to an objective, because she's lone operative. Then I can use it, maybe push the Wardens ahead if I really needed to. But she's also great for vecting a stratagem. And like I always say, if they don't have a good battle tactic, or they know that you have vect and they're kind of holding on to this battle tactic, aim for CP reroll. CP reroll can be very crippling to some armies, and really a lot of armies. I think Eldar are the only ones that aren't going to be really using CP reroll that much. But you know, that makes charges, rerolling charges cost 2. That makes CP rerolling damage or hits or like wounds, anything is now 2 CP. So that can really drain the enemy CP, and Custodes have a problem kind of gaining and holding onto our CP ourselves. So if we can kind of keep the enemy low on CP and then not always having to use -1 damage and other reactive stratagems to kind of keep the enemy from doing a ton of damage to our army, we can hold on to those a little more for some more tricks and sticky objectives and rezzing our guys back as to always having to use fight first, you know, -1 damage. If they're strapped for CP, they won't be able to use as many of their offensive stratagems as well. And then I have the 2 Terminator squads. So these are just 2-man units, and like I said with my attacking units, with these 2, they're not really made for doing lots of damage. They're made for behind enemy lines, stealing second objectives, even being a little bit of threat to the enemy's home field objective. These guys are really for stealing points. You can drop them down off of behind enemy lines, and then, you know, put them somewhere safe where they can't be shot or charged the next turn, grab behind enemy lines, and then the opponent's next turn, and the end of the turn, you pop them out with Golden Light. You can use them almost twice to get you some points, possibly. Maybe, you know, you've got behind enemy lines, so behind enemy lines, and then the opponent's turn, the end of the turn, you pop them back into Deep Strike. And then maybe on your next turn, you pull out a card and it's Cleanse, or it's Investigate Signals. Ugh, I hate Investigate Signals. Well, now you can drop these guys in a corner and Investigate Signals. And yes, they might be stuck there for this game, but this could be turn 4, turn 5, where a couple points could really make the difference. So having these guys just bop around, getting me points is fantastic. And then I have the Witch Seekers. And I really like to have at least one group of Witch Seekers in any of my lists. The Scout makes the difference, especially going towards the middle objective. You go turn 1, you scout them the 6 inches toward the middle objective, you possibly get aerial denial, or deploy teleport homers, or any of the middle field objective, secure no man's land, or extend battle lines. You can really put them up there and get that objective without having to put Trajan and his unit out there turn 1. I don't like having Trajan out there turn 1, because then from turn 1 on, he's taking firepower, he's taking charges, he's taking shots. This way, you put the sisters up there, you make, you know, they might get shot off, someone might come up and charge them. But either way, it keeps Trajan's unit a bit safer for one more turn. So we'll go over these characters just a little bit. I know I went over them with my units, because these are interchangeable. It depends on your opponent. Maybe you notice, hey, I would love to get my Wardens up on objective turn 1 without a doubt. Well, maybe I'll take the Blade Champion out of the guard and put him with the Wardens, and then put Trajan with the guard. Because like I said, Trajan with the guard can do a lot of damage, but it's not as tanky and as much utility as the Wardens with Trajan. But you can switch it around. And in this list, I have the Ceaseless Hunter enhancement on the Blade Champion. So it allows him to be able to fall back and charge, and it allows him, once per game, move 6 inches if someone gets within 9 of his group. So it really allows him a lot of utility with the guard unit, because you can move it away. Maybe you charge up, you take an objective, they want to move in and try to take it back from you, or maybe you can pop them in behind a wall, get them away from shots. There's a lot of things you can do with it. The Blade Champion Ceaseless Hunter is pretty much a auto-include in any list, really. If you can put Ceaseless Hunter and you have the points, even if you don't have the points, you should really consider trying to find the points to have Ceaseless Hunter in your list, because it really has a lot of tools. The fallback and charge is priceless, really. That it really allows you not to get caught up in combat. And then I had the 10 extra points left over, so I do have that Inspirational Exemplar on my Shield Captain. It allows him to have a 5-up leadership, which, that's not too bad, and turn off Battle Shock. Custodians are one of the only arms, if you cause them to be Battle Shocked, yes, it goes away in my command phase, but it really takes away from me being able to fight first, and that can be quite crippling to me, or -1 damage. Even though, yes, it just goes away next turn, it doesn't really affect my point scoring, it can affect the amount of damage I can take. So this allows me to, especially on my big Shield Captain Wardens unit, it allows me to turn off any kind of Battle Shock. It's only once per game, but there is a 5-up leadership, so it's going to be pretty hard for him to fail anyways. But when he does fail, the following phase, I can turn it off. So it does allow me a little more utility. I would have rather had Veiled Blade on him, but I just don't have the points. I think this is the right choice. These 3 characters, I do have the Callous Assassin, but she can't join any of the units. She's kind of her own thing. So I can play with this combination of who I'm going to put these characters with. Depends on who I'm playing against in the tournament. So this is my list. I hope it does good in RTT. I'm going to be using it a lot within the next few weeks on the channel. I'll try to get some other battle reports as well, so you're not always seeing the same list. And I do believe we're going to have a couple games with Necron Mike. All the people who are going up to the tournament should be on the channel showing off their armies that they're going to bring to the RTT. So I think it should be fun next couple weeks, and hopefully the tournament goes well for us. Like always, thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by.